And Etan Patz, was he ever around the store at another time? Just
I never seen that kid in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. You were working at the store for how long before this happened?
What happened?
Before this incident happened that brought us here today.
I think I was working there for a year. Something like that, I'm not sure. A year, 2 years.
And Etan Patz never came into the store?
I never seen him.
You never saw him in the store, or you never saw him, period?
Never seen him in the store, I never seen him before.
You had never seen him before?
Never.
Mm-hmm. When you did see him, how long was he standing there before you approached him?
5 minutes.
And were you watching him, or were you going up and down the stairs? What were you doing during these 5 minutes?
I went to the store, put the sodas in the store,
Mm-hmm.
come back out. And I stand in front of the store, and there he was, in the front of the store.
Mm-hmm.
Then I approached him and I asked him if he wanted something to drink.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't answer me. He nodded his head. I went down to the basement, he followed me to the basement. And whatever happened there, I choked him. It was something that just happened like quick. I don't know why I did it. I don't know why it happened.
As you talk about it, are you surprised?
I don't even know if it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw his face.
So, when you went down into the basement with him, you didn't go into the store with him. You went down to the basement with him, and he followed you, or
He followed me.
you said, "Come down to the basement with
No,
me."
he followed me.
Mm-hmm. And where were you going to get the soda from?
In the basement. There was a fridge in the basement.
Mm-hmm. So he went down the stairs, and he was behind you. Is that right?
He was behind me.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went in front of me. I stood behind him,
Mm-hmm.
and I choked him. Then when I choked him, I started shaking, and there was a plastic bag and a box. Where did it came from? I do not know. It was there. So I put him inside the bag. Then I tied the bag with the same bag. I put him inside the box. It was like a banana box, something, I don't remember. What kind of box was it? It was a cardboard box. I put him up on my shoulder. I carried him out of the store, out to like a block away, a block and a half, away from the store. There was people following me from the basement. All the people that were there at the same time when he was there. They followed me out. I put him like a block and a half away. I set him up on the basement, on the hallway. And I walked back to the store, and I started working just like nothing.
And so when you walked a block and a half away, was it east or west, or towards which street? Towards West Broadway?
I was living in West Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
So I went down to the right of the store. I don't know if that was east, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or north, I don't know. I was in West Broadway. Probably went down east, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. You said that he came out in front of you and you choked him. And did you give him a soda?
No, he didn't get the soda.
Did he resist?
No.
What did he do? You were facing him from the back?
I was facing him from the back. He was like standing here, I was standing behind him.
Mm-hmm.
I shook him. He went down like this with his hands. He went down to the floor. I put him in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that.
And how long did it take before he went down to the floor? How long did you have your hands around his neck?
Maybe a minute,
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes.
Did he make any sounds while you were choking him?
No.
But you mentioned that his hands hung
Collapse. His hands went down. He didn't make any sound, nothing.
And when he was down on the floor, what did you think
I
was
just
going
thought
on?
about putting him in the bag and put him in the box that was there. I don't know how the bags got there. The trash bag was just right there.
Mm-hmm.
It was like somebody put it there. I don't know how it got there. I just grabbed it and I did what I was gonna do real quick and put it away.
When did you throw the bag over the freezer? Was that before you put him in the bag or when?
Before I put him in the bag, I threw the bag, his book bag, over the freezer. It went behind the freezer.
But you did that before you put him in the bag?
Yeah, I didn't put the book bag. I did not put it in the bag, in the box. Why? I don't know. I just grabbed it and threw it over there like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I just put him inside the bag, the box.
Did you try to take his clothes off?
No,
Did he try to walk out when you grabbed him?
no.
Was he surprised?
I wouldn't know.
So he didn't even,
He didn't react.
he didn't react, and you did it from behind.
Yeah.
And so you took him a block and a half away, and you put him down. And was there other garbage there also when you put him down?
No, there was no garbage.
So you just put
It
him
was
down.
like a hallway in the basement.
Mhm.
It was like a walkway, the hallway. They had no doors, nothing.
Mhm.
I just went down the steps, 4 steps. I set the box in between the hallway there and came back.
Mhm.
Who took it? I don't know. Anything happened to it? I don't know. I have no idea. Somebody must have took it. Somebody must have known something. Anybody answer? I don't know. I have no idea. That was the truth. I don't know nothing.
You went back to work.
When I went back to work, and then later on that day, I heard the news that there was a child missing.
Mhm.
And they show his picture on the TV,
Mhm.
but I didn't say anything because I didn't feel like I had to say anything. So I didn't feel like I do anything wrong.
At some point, you went back to take a look at the box. When did that happen?
Oh,
And
the
at
next
what
day.
time? And
The next day I
tell
went
me
back,
about that.
like maybe 10 o'clock in the morning,
Mhm.
to see if the box was there, but it was not there.
Mm.
It was gone.
Mm.
Somebody must have removed it from there.
Mhm.
I don't know if they put it in the garbage. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if he left. I don't know if he's still alive.
Mm.
He might be alive
Mhm.
because he was still alive
Mhm.
in the box.
Tell me about that. You said that he was still alive.
He
Tell
was
me what
still
you
moving
remember.
In the box. He was moving in the box.
What did you feel?
I feel his movement in the box when I was cutting him.
Mhm.
He must have been still alive. He probably is alive somewhere. Who knows? I don't know.
So you felt him moving. Did you feel him? Was he? When you put him in the bag, he wasn't resisting. He wasn't moving then when you put him in the bag.
But then afterwards, he started moving.
While you were carrying him.
I was carrying him. So he was still alive.
When you moved him in the bag, and was he wet? Was he dry? Was he?
No, he was dry.
He was dry. Okay. And how did you get him in the bag? Did you do it by?
I put the bag under his feet and I just raised it up.
Mm-hmm. And you tied it up over his head. And
I picked the bag and put it in the box and closed the bag with the 4 leads.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one between the other.
Mm-hmm. Was it hard getting him into the bag? Did you have to? Mm-hmm. And so you tied a knot. Is that what you did at the top of the bag? Or you used a tie? You tied a knot with the bag.
With the bag.
Understood. Okay. And did you have to touch his clothes when you were putting him in the bag, or not?
No. I don't think so.
Were any of his clothes messy, or was there anything about his clothes that was sort of off?
No. I don't even remember the color of his clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the only thing I remember is the book bag.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a dark book bag. Mm-hmm. And he had blonde hair, that's it. I never saw his face, anything.
And you said it's a dark blue book bag, and what other features did it have? What kind of, did it have any kind of patterns or styles on it?
I don't remember.
But you remembered a dark blue or something black?
Probably black.
And when you say a book bag, is there anything else about it that you remember just in terms of features or of how it might have looked and that sort of thing?
It was a white strap book bag. I think it was black. I'm not sure.
So the kind of thing that somebody would wear on one shoulder?
Yeah, one shoulder.
Instead of 2 shoulders?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
And was he wearing shoes or tennis shoes or?
I don't remember. I wish I could remember, but I don't remember.
Did he have any kind of marks or scars or anything? I mean, like you have a tattoo. Obviously, he didn't have a tattoo, but did he have any cuts or anything that you saw?
I don't remember.
What do you remember about his hands? Were they moving when you were moving him?
No, his hands like on the side.
Mm-hmm.
So when I choked him, he just went like this. His shoulder went down. And that's it.
This has been unusual because usually when a jury deadlocks, they say, we couldn't decide, we fought, we tried, and it's left at that. Not this time. This time it wound up being you against them. Why do you think that was?
I mean, essentially, it boils down to the evidence. The evidence was just not there in this case. And unfortunately, my fellow jurors felt that the story that was presented by the prosecution was a story that made the most sense. And in my opinion, you don't go with the story that makes the most sense. You go with the evidence. So, so it was very difficult, but it was a decision that I feel very comfortable with.
Why were you in such a different place than the rest of them? I know it was 10-2 for a while, you say, that there was you and another man who was holding out. So it's not just you, but it wound up being just you. Why wouldn't you go where they went?
Again, it's based on reasonable doubt and my understanding of reasonable doubt, which is a very high threshold for voting guilty in our country. I just feel that the other jurors had a much lower threshold for getting to that point of being willing to vote guilty in this case.
They say Pedro Hernandez admitted it. He admitted it several times. He still admits it now. Why isn't that good enough?
We were told by the judge that you cannot convict, you cannot vote guilty against someone based only on their words that they use against themselves. So a confession is not evidence of guilt. You have to prove first that the crime was committed, and second that the crime was committed by the person who is being charged with that crime.
You need to corroborate the confession.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
it hurts you when you say that you did something unless you can show that it was a compelled confession,
Right.
a false confession,
Right.
Or coerced confession.
Right.
But it certainly counts. But it seems like you were very willing to discount it. Why were you so willing to discount a man, say, I did it, I told my wife, I told my friends, I told people, I told a church group? Why was that not enough for you?
Well, there's lots of reasons why. I mean, I probably don't have time to tell all of them, but essentially, most of the testimony, most of the eyewitness testimony against Mr. Hernandez was based on things that people said from 35 years ago, and people heard 35 years ago. In the courtroom, in the jury room, we couldn't remember what was said 10 minutes ago in court sometimes, which is why we asked for readbacks. So it made me nervous to judge a man based on words from 35 years ago that someone might have heard at a church group meeting. So that was one thing. The other thing was the fact that the police had him in custody for 7 hours with questioning with no video recording being done, which I felt was an issue. It was something to think about.
Now, that is something that raised eyebrows about your disposition, was that you were reported to say that, and you can verify it or shoot it down right now, that, hey, these are the police we're talking about. And that made people think that you were just anti-cop. Is that true? Are you just anti-police? Are you suspicious of police?
No, not at all. I mean, I have huge respect for the NYPD, for the prosecutor's office, and in general, I think they do a great job. I think it was unfortunate that they didn't videotape the first 7 hours of this interview, which would have really helped. Everyone in that jury room really wished that had happened, because it would have helped us to see how the interview was conducted with Mr. Hernandez. And I'm not alleging that anything was done wrong. I think the police used a lot of tactics that were very, very good to elicit this confession. But when someone has a mental health condition like Mr. Hernandez, low intelligence, can a person like that succumb to a confession more easily? I think so.
But he had said the same thing before and to other people.
Allegedly.
How did you square with that?
Allegedly.
You think that each of these different groups were making it up?
Well, I mean, one of them is his ex-wife, who obviously had a very bad relationship with him. And the other were three older gentlemen from Puerto Rico who were in a church group who say that they heard something 35 years ago, but none of their stories were the same, and they changed over time.
Now, you grew up with this. Etan Patz is a name that, you know, I may not have pronounced correctly every time. It was a tricky name, but it was a very easy story to understand. It was 1979. We were growing up in the city. You were in Jersey. This was the story that changed everything. People were so hungry for satisfaction. And now you have this guy who says he did it, and 11 of your colleagues say, no, this is it. Beyond a reasonable doubt, it has to be him.
Sure.
What was it like for you to hold out?
You know, people have said, you know, that it must have been hard or something like that. But to be honest, I felt very, very confident in my position, and I was really hoping that I wouldn't be here alone today. That I'd be here with at least 9 or 10 other people. There were a few people that were never going to vote not guilty. I could see that from the beginning. But there was a lot of wavering in that room for a while. It even got to 6-6 at one point. Yeah, I wish I wasn't alone right now, but that's how the system works. I mean,
any doubts? Who did it? Somebody did this. Somebody made this kid disappear.
Yeah, yeah.
Who did it, if not Pedro Hernandez?
I'm not going to pretend that I know the answer, but there were other suspects presented in the trial. Jose Ramos is a very good candidate for that
And the
likelihood.
prosecutor's saying in so many different ways, we don't think it's Ramos. We think it's this guy. We know it's this guy. If you trust them, what was it that, if you had to point out just one thing where you couldn't get past it, what was that thing?
About?
Why you wouldn't believe what the prosecutors were saying, why you wouldn't believe after 100 hours what your 11 colleagues were saying. What made you hold out?
I mean, honestly, the weakness of the evidence. There was no corroboration of the confessions. The confessions are difficult. I grant that. I mean, they're difficult for me. But there was no clear evidence that corroborated his confessions.
The thumbnail is means, motive, and opportunity. He worked right there.
Yeah.
He had the ability to do this. He had access to that basement.
Yeah.
He had the opportunity because the kid came by all the time, right? And motive, he's a disturbed guy who had a problem with kids, by his own admission.
Problem with kids, I don't agree with. And he was only 18 at the time. His mental health issues, you know, emerged after that.
That's what they say. That's what they suggested on his side.
Right.
So, but that wasn't enough for you.
No.
And you're good with it today?
I'm fine, yes.
What would you say to his parents? You know that they've been big advocates for this.
Yeah, of course. I mean, my heart goes out to the Patz family. It's a horrible thing, and I'm so sorry for the loss of Etan, but that doesn't mean that you convict the wrong person in the case.
Clear conscience, you move on with your life.
Absolutely.